Hey there, welcome to Extra Healthyish, the big sister podcast to Healthyish. Both podcasts, this one as well, are from Body+Soul, and they're aimed to give you that little bit extra in your day for your mind, body and soul. Today we're talking about failing. Oh, it's a hard thing, isn't it? But we can become better at it. We can process it. We can become bulletproof and let go of regret. Lola Berry is my guest. She is the author of a new book, Fearlessly Failing. Actually, she has a podcast of the same name. You might know Lola as one of Australia's leading nutritionists, a yoga teacher, founder of Lola Coffee, but she is currently exploring career number 2. She is studying acting full-time in LA, but she actually recorded this from her home in Byron via Zoom. I've known Lola for many years, and if there's one thing I know about her, she is fearless. Yet she is open about her failures. She's got this lovely sense of vulnerability, and I think we can all get better at being more vulnerable, and hearing and learning from Lola about how she's learned to embrace her failures. Lola, thank you for coming on Extra Healthyish. Now I ask this question of everyone who comes on this podcast. How do you stay extra healthy-ish in your life?
Oof. Okay, this is going to sound like the weirdest answer ever, but if I'm ever having a flat day, or if I feel like I'm going to burn out, or I'm really stressed, or I get too in my head, I take myself to the movies. And I know that's only a luxury that we get to do now that things are opening up. But for me, what fills my cup is watching other people live their passion. So watching actors act, listening to a movie score that a composer has created. I just love that feeling of watching other people live their passion.
I love that. Do you know I think I've done about 150 interviews this year. No one has ever answered with that. That is brilliant. I love that. But I even think that works on all levels. Like if you're passionate about people who are acting, but also if you just want to switch off.
It's the best fun. And it's such escapism. You go into this beautiful dark theatre, you've got your popcorn. It's just, I'm already Boss and I have already booked my boyfriend and I have already booked a movie that we're going to see the day it comes out. I can't wait.
Oh, what is it?
It's called June. It's a brand new one that's out in America, not in Australia yet. Hans Zimmer did the score. It's Timothy Chalamet, I hope I'm saying his name right, and Zendaya. It looks incredible.
Okay, fun. Watch out for that. But first, let's, talk about your book. Let's watch out for your book. We're talking failure. Now, why is it important we fail in life? We all hate it, but it's important, right?
Totally. I mean, I think, yeah, sure, it's normal to feel fear of failure and all that kind of thing. I've definitely felt it. But if you think about it and you look back at your failures, often they're going to come with an opportunity to grow. You will have learned something about yourself. You've kind of been forced to face a blind spot. And the other thing is maybe it's made you skill up and learn a new skill set. For me, I shot a pilot for Channel 7 co-anchoring, and I was so nervous about auto cue that I learned the script before I went in. I sat down next to Limo and we were co-anchoring together, and they swapped out the male hosts and then they swapped me out with other female hosts. And I sat down and the producer's like, we're going to switch a script. And I was like, no, I've learned the wrong person's script. And I quickly learned, well, you don't have the skill set of reading an auto cue. You don't have that confidence yet. And so I called an acting school and I said, can I please do your TV presenting course? I want to learn auto cue. And they said, it's full. Have you thought about doing acting? And I said, I would rather swim with sharks. That sounds so scary. And they said, that's a good sign. And I enrolled into acting probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and I haven't stopped training.
Well, there we go. And that show, what happened to the show?
Never got greenlit. No one got hired from it.
There we go. Now, you being honest, with that story, you are very raw and vulnerable and honest in your book, and talk specifically about, what I thought was your struggles with weight and even your real name, which I never knew. There we go.
Do you know who wrote to me when they read that? Samantha Wills, the incredible designer.
Yeah, we had her on recently.
Oh, she wrote to me. She was like, wait, what? Yeah. Do
you know, I never even thought your name wasn't who you are, but I've just always known you. And then I was like, Lauren, what? Laurel, Lola. Okay, whatever. Anyway.
It's not even exciting, the story. My first boyfriend was like, your name is Lauren and my sister's name's Lauren, and that's too weird for me. Can I call you Lola? And it just stuck since I was like 18.
I love it. You also talk about some of your failures. Can you talk us through maybe one or two of these and what they've taught you?
Yeah, I mean, like I always say, like, how long have you got? There are so many, and a lot of them are shared in the book. But I think one that really was like my own doing and my own fault was bringing out the diet plan called Stop Being a Fat Bitch. And it really blew up in my face. The title was Stop Being a Fat Bitch, Change Your Mental Dialogue, Change Your Life, because it was the way that I spoke to myself. And we wanted to shine a light on the way women's internal talk is and kind of change that. And I wanted to really highlight how I was talking to myself because I knew I wouldn't be alone, and it totally backfired and it came across as an attack on women. And to this day, I say I'm sorry for that, but it was such a lesson because like within hours of that coming out, there was a Daily Mail story, career suicide, Lola Berry, and there was a hashtag by my community, bin the berry with photos of my books in rubbish bins. And it sounds really tough and rough, and it totally was at the time, but it taught me so much about myself. It taught me that like I stuff up, I'm human. You've got to own your mistakes, like you've got to say sorry when it's time to say sorry. And I think it also taught me that not everyone's going to have my back, but I need to. And it gave me that sense of like having my own back. And I'm really grateful for that experience, even as long as it didn't hurt people. I'm grateful to have learned from that experience.
Yeah, I actually do remember that, and you're right. It was a bit of a storm, wasn't it? And did they you got your book reprinted though?
That book never got pulled.
Oh,
so that
it got
book
completely pulled. Okay.
Yeah, it got pulled within 2 hours. It was an online book, so it was an online platform, and I've got it on my laptop. I've never re-released it.
Yeah,
I just didn't
enough.
want to hurt anyone.
Yeah. And so have you got better at processing these things as you've got older, or how can we get better at processing failure and owning up to our mistakes?
That's a good question. Do you know why I would say yes to that? Not necessarily that I've got older. I've just got more failures under my belt.
Yeah, you've been there, done that.
More. Yeah, I've done more of them. And I, like, even being in LA recently, and just like, I remember I put so much work into this monologue, and I had to have a New York accent, and New York's much harder than a general American. And I was so nervous, and I put the scene up and I dropped straight back into my Australian accent like 5 times, and I butchered the entire monologue. And, I was training at the school where Brad Pitt trained, Scarlett Johansson, Charlize Theron, like friggin' greats trained there. And I just butchered it. And I got to put the scene up again right before I came back to Australia, and it was like night and day because I let go. I hold on so tight to my own demise, and I knew I could do it better, and I just was like, just let go, Lola. And I just let go, and I didn't drop accent. I was calm. I took my time. And so, yeah, I think it comes from failing all the time and then learning from each failure and being really open to that learning as opposed to beating yourself up, which is what I used to do.
Yeah, and know that you'll be okay out the other side. I mean, it might be a bit shit for a while, like as when your book came out. I mean, I've had those experiences too in my media career where it is awful for about 24 hours, 48 hours, but you come out and people forget, and, people don't really remember, but it's only you who remembers. So if you can push past that first little bit and check in with yourself and check in with the people around you, you're right, who you might have heard. I think that's a great tip. Now, you talk about becoming bulletproof in your book. What's this all about?
My therapist coined this. I would love to take credit for it, but it's my wonderful therapist. And it was when I was going for my green card, which is permanent residency in America, and I got rejected. My first round got rejected. And when your first round gets rejected, you only get one more go. And then if you get rejected again, you never get one in your lifetime. So you get one green card a lifetime. And I said to him, oh my God, this is stressing me out so much. Like, what am I meant to do? I feel like I'm in limbo. Like, I love Australia, but am I meant to be thinking about it? Like, I was just like in this vortex. And he said, we need to get you bulletproof. We need to get you okay to take the hits. Like, you need to be able to like wear your heart as your armor. And that's where like it kind of, the concept came from, and my therapist came up with it, not me.
Oh, I like that. I think you could turn that into a book. Tell your therapist to turn that.
That was the working title of the book, Becoming Bulletproof. And there's an amazing, I obviously used to be in the health world, and there's an amazing health writer that's got a book called Bulletproof. And I was like, we cannot compete with him.
Dave Asprey, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, I just didn't want to ruffle the wrong feathers.
No, then you might have another book on your hands there.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about you don't have any regrets. I mean, this is, or do you? I don't know. How do you look at things, and how can we learn to push past regrets?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm big on not having regrets. I'm big on like getting outside your comfort zone. As far as like not having regrets, I think that comes from like sitting with your options, like sitting with like, I'm 36, so the most common question I got asked when I was in hotel quarantine recently was, are you coming back to have a baby? And I was like,
oh, what?
Whoa, yeah. Like, I was like,
oh, should I ask this?
No. And I just thought, oh my God, like, no, I'm coming back to bring a book out and to see my boyfriend and, you know, see my fam at Chriso. But no, I'm not intending on having any bambinos anytime soon. But on that topic, my boyfriend and I have a deal where when I turned 35, we're in the middle of a pandemic and all my friends are getting pregnant. And I said, this is really a confronting feeling for me. And so we made a deal that every year around my birthday, we just check in. Hey, how are we feeling about this? And we both say each year, not our time. This is not our time yet, you know, and that means that it may change, it may not change, and we're okay with that. But so that we don't have regrets, we have welcomed and look into every option very, very clearly, and we make sure we're on the same page. So whenever I'm feeling confronted by something, I'll welcome it in, sit with it, really feel it. Like, what would it feel like to not become a mum? And I've written about that in the book too. What would it feel like to become a mum? And it's okay to not want to be a mum in your mid-30s. You know, like I think that's what makes me feel like I won't have regrets, because like I do look at and I welcome the uncomfortable feelings.
And at the time you know that you made the best decision. Like, you might get to 45 and think, well, when I was 35 and 38 or 40 and decided not to have kids, I knew I did that for the right reason. So I've got to kind of back my younger self in, right?
100%. And like, that's one thing that's beautiful about being in America. Like, I went walking with a mate and she's like, I'm 44, I'm about to focus on having a kid. And I was like, oh, love it. Bring on being a geriatric mum, I say, even though that's the worst term ever.
I know, I hate that word. I actually was one with my third. There we go. And it's awful. We should lose that term.
Isn't it like after 32 or something they call you a geriatric mum?
I think
like
it's 38. It's 35.
Is it?
Maybe. No, well,
Might
I
be
was,
35.
I was 40 with Arabella.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
there we go.
that. I just absolutely love that. I interviewed someone on my podcast a few days ago, 49, natural birth. I'm like, you know what I mean? I just don't feel like I fit into society's norm anyway. So, but yeah, it's still confronting when people write to me on socials about it. So I'll sit and say to my boyfriend, all right, let's check in. Where are we at in our lives? And we just sit with it and have a really open combo.
Yeah, good for you. I have to say though, 40 natural baby at 49 is very unusual. We can't normalise that.
Yeah, true.
Now, what's been your greatest success then? You know, if you don't have any regrets, what do you think your greatest success has been in life thus far?
Oh, probably just like being real and connected to who I am and I reckon I'm pretty fearless. And I would say that's probably my biggest success, because like, who the F takes their whole life to America in the middle of a pandemic and goes after a career that I have no expertise in? Like, up until a year ago, you knew me as Lola the nutritionist, and I'm now studying full-time acting, or I was in LA until I got back. I start again in a few weeks. And so I just think, and people say to me, you know, what's your dream? And I'm like, I'd love to be like a Steve Colbert or a Kimmel or, you know, and
Yeah.
I've had people laugh at me when I tell them that. And I just think, I think I'm pretty fearless. Like, I think I'm pretty comfortable going, well, I don't need to march to the beat of anyone's drum, just my own.
So what is your dream now?
You know Steve Colbert, the best late night talk show host in the world? I would love to do that. I would love to do that. But like I see myself acting like with comedy bones, like in a sitcom or something. Like I'd love to do that, like the funny, goofy best friend, or, you know, I'm not tied to any one thing, but like in all my training, I play drama, like I play a romantic lead or drama. So I am completely open. I don't have expectations. I'm just chasing the feeling of what feels right in my heart. And that sounds so hippie, I know, but it works.
No, follow your heart. Now, last question. Was there something that you learned about yourself when writing this book? Did you have any aha moments, or even now that you're talking about it and doing all these interviews, is there something that you keep coming back to thinking, oh, wow, I didn't realize that about myself, or that is true for me?
I loved writing the heartbreak chapter, and the reason why I loved writing is I got to celebrate. Of course, I laughed at the dingoes, which is my word for drongos or not nice people. I wrote about like dating dingoes and the lessons, you know, being in a narcissistic relationship and all that kind of thing. But I also got to celebrate the awesome relationships and loves, and I was like, how lucky was I? I had such an epic first love. And it took me another 10 years to get that kind of love again. But I really enjoyed like celebrating positives as well, and being able to, just celebrate people that, and looking back as an adult at that time, like being around people that live their passion. And I think that probably shaped the human and adult that I became. So it was nice to celebrate cool people in my life.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. I mean, it's all good to talk about failure and not living without regrets, but we also need to celebrate our successes, and that can be things like acting, or it can be people, right?
Totally. And every now and then, you know it, like someone will enter your life and you'll be like, you're amazing. And it might just be a mate. It might be someone that has your back. Like at the top of this convo, we were talking about Jane. Like Jane's had my back the entire time, and for many, many years, probably like 7 or 8 years now. And I just think you got to celebrate. And I know you're mates with Lauren, my agent, who I've been with for zillions of years.
And Jane, listeners, is Lola's PR agent. Sorry, we're going off on tangents here. Sorry, listeners. We're like talking like we're having a coffee.
No, but my point is like cool people enter your realm, and it's rare, but how cool is it when they do? Like years ago, you introduced my book launch for Food to Make You Glow.
I did,
you know, like,
yes.
I just like meeting cool people, you know.
Yeah,
and that's how I say cool. I love saying cool because my dad says it that way.
Oh, I thought that was like you were, you know, into the New York accent then.
No, I wish.
Lola, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish.
Thank you so much.
Lola's got some great advice, but I do think she is a great example, a great inspiration for being okay with failure and being open about it, talking about it with our friends. I think that can help us all normalize the fact that we all fail, we all pick ourselves up, and we all try again. If you want more from Lola, grab her book. It's called Fearlessly Failing. If you want more from us, remember Extra Healthy-ish, this podcast. We publish a new episode every morning, Monday to Thursday. Or head to our online website at bodyandsoul.com.au, or follow us on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks again for listening to my chat with Lola. And if you have a moment, we'd be so grateful if you could rate, review and subscribe to this podcast. And until tomorrow, stay extra healthy-ish.